Hi, Jesse with eTrailer. Today we'll be taking a look at and I'll show you how to install the eTrailer custom fit hitch on our 2018 Lincoln MKX. Adding a hitch to a vehicle like the MKX makes a ton of sense. It's going to give you the ability to add on extra storage space, whether it be something like a cargo carrier or a bike rack or something of the sorts. And it also gives you the ability to do some light duty towing with your vehicle. Just remember, anytime you're planning on doing towing, you'll also have to purchase a trailer wiring kit separately. It has completely hidden cross tubes behind the fascia and a nice matte black finish. I really like the way that matte black looks on the MKX. And it comes with a standard 2" by 2" receiver opening. Behind that opening is another standard 5/8" pinhole. A pin and clip will not come included with the hitch. However, we have many options available here at eTrailer. Also, any accessory that you'll add on will most likely come with one included. And then for the safety cable loops, these ones are kind of tricky for a clevis style to get hooked up, but they are nice and sturdy, and it'll work just fine with any other clip that you might have. Now for some measurements, from the ground to the inside of the top of the collar is 12.5 inches. That's plenty of room for ground clearance. For the center of the pinhole to the edge of the bumper is about 6.5 inches. Just keep that in mind for any folding accessories that you might add on. As for the weight capacities, we have a gross trailer weight of 4,500 pounds. That's the amount of weight that you can pull behind the vehicle, and a maximum tongue weight of 675. That's the amount of weight pushing down on the vehicle. You do have the ability to use weight distribution with this hitch. However, those numbers will stay the same. And anytime I'm talking weight capacities, I always want to recommend to double check your owner's manual and just ensure that you're not exceeding your vehicle's towing capacities. The question we get asked a lot is, once the hitch is installed, will my hands-free liftgate assist still function properly? The answer on the MKX is yes. You just give it a kick like normal, and it opens right up. And once you're all loaded up and you're ready to close the hatch back up, give it another kick and it'll close. As far as the install goes with this hitch, the instructions do recommend that you remove the fascia in order to get the exhaust out of your way. Here at the shop, we found that it's much easier to leave the fascia on and just work around it. So if you want to find out what that process looks like, feel free to stick around. If this is not something that you're ready to tackle on your own, check out our dealer locator to find a dealer located near you that will be able to help you with this process. Otherwise, if you are planning on doing this yourself, stick around and follow the video. As far as the install goes, it's not too terribly difficult. The instructions do recommend that you remove the fascia. Here at the shop, we found that it's a little bit easier if you just work around that, leaving the fascia on. So if you want to see how we went through that process, feel free to stick around and find out. If this is not something that you're looking to do yourself, feel free to check out our dealer locator to find a dealer around you that would be able to help you install this. We'll start off our install by removing these plastic panels. There's going to be one on each side. We have two 10mm nuts holding them up above the exhaust. Over here. Now we have two 5.5mm bolts here. Finish it off with a push pin clip here in the wheel well. Just have to get in under that center part and pull it out. Once those are removed, you'll kind of have to work this piece out. Kind of tilt it that way and it should pull out. We'll set that aside. Remove the rubber isolators from the exhaust. I sprayed some white lithium grease on it. You could also use something like soapy water, and be sure to support the exhaust in some way. I just ran a cam buckle strap from one side to the other. But I'll take a pry bar and work it off. This is where that grease comes in handy because this car's been on the road for a while and there's some grime built up. There we go. We should be able to lower our exhaust down without completely removing the fascia. You will just have to make sure you loosen your strap up just a bit. So just pulling back that fascia and pushing forwards and down with the exhaust. Pop that loose. Now this side, we have a little more freedom to move the exhaust around. It should be a bit easier. Now we can loosen our strap up and get that out of our way. We need to remove this stud that's right in the center here. That's going to get in the way of our hitch. So I just have a multi-tool. You could also use a Dremel or something like that. And just cut that as flush with the trunk as you can. We need to get our fish wire and our spacer block and our bolts prepared. We're going to fish wire through 4 holes here. There's 2 on the bottom and 2 on the outside. And here's our access hole that we'll be feeding them through. So I'll take our fish wire. So in this end, see our access hole. I'm going to start with this hole on the towards the front. Just kind of feed it through, pull it down, get our spacer block installed, and slide that in the hole. Then thread our bolt on. All of these will install the same way on both sides. And it'll be easier to feed our bolt through if we do it backwards. Just kind of feed that through there and pull your fish wire through. So we'll get all those set up and I'll show you what they look like. 2 different styles of nuts that we're using on the install. These flat nuts that come with a lock washer will go on the bottom 2 bolts, and our flange style nuts will go on the side. And before we get our hitch lifted up into place, we'll actually have to push these 2 sides in. That way they're inside the frame and we can lift our hitch into place. And once our hitch is in place, we'll just pull on our fish wires and install our nuts. Now with an extra set of hands, I have my friend Joe here. We're going to lift this up into place. As we lift it up, we will need to make sure we get our fish wires through the correct holes. And you can kind of use the exhaust to hold it for now. Just make sure you get them through the right holes and don't get them all crossed up. So we'll lift it into place. Might want to kind of hold on to your fish wires. Make sure they aren't getting caught underneath. Once we get it in place, I'll pull our bolt out of the frame. Once you get it pulled out, just pull your fish wire off and start your nut. Once that's started, we can let it hang and install the rest of our nuts. One thing I should mention is our flat nut with lock washer will only have 1 on each side, and they will go onto the bolt that's located closest to the rear of the vehicle. One thing I found to make installing these rear nuts easier is just get all your other hardware started. That way it'll hold the hitch into place. You don't have to worry about juggling the lock washer and nut while also pushing up on the hitch. I have all that just hand tightened now, and I'll come through and tighten everything down. We'll take our 11/16 socket and get all these tightened down. For this step, we'll need a torque wrench. If you do not own your own torque wrench, we do have them available here at etrailer, or you could always rent one from a local auto parts store. Let's take our torque wrench and an extension, and I'll torque everything down to the specifications listed in the instructions. Now we're ready to get our exhaust back up into place. It's going to be the same process as before. Just pull back on our fascia here and push it up into place. It might be a little more difficult just with the angle of the tips. So this isn't listed in the instructions, but before we reinstall these plastic boxes, we will need to have to cut out a hole for one of our hitch bolts to come through. It lines up with this little portion that's sticking out. So I'm just going to cut through there and just make a hole. It's not going to hurt anything. I'm using a multi-tool. You could use a Dremel or something like that, but I'll just cut the top off. So now we can show you what that hole we cut out is for. As you can see, our plastic box fits now, so I'll just have to cut out a hole on the other side and get that installed. Otherwise, that's going to do it for our look at and installation of the etrailer hitch on our 2018 Lincoln MKX.